Dark Crisis Warzone issue 1. There's 4 different stories in here, I think. Was it 5? I think it's 4.
Yep. And it's a lot more. They're broken down. Each team has a different section, which is nice.
Yeah. Each story's by a different creative team, which is why I'm not telling them all just now. That said, though, I think we'll go through this relatively quickly because they're all pretty short and straightforward. The first story, which is written by Jeremy Adams of the current Flash book, is basically about Iris being in the middle of the war zone and the big fight in front of the Hall of Justice, and runs into Linda, who's running around with superpowers, and they end up saving a couple of kids. And there's some dialogue back and forth of like, wait, Linda, why do you have powers? And hey, Iris, don't worry, Barry's coming back. He always comes back. You know this. And that's basically it.
It's basically a Flash interlude, right?
Yes.
Like they could throw this in. I did like, though, that Iris is basically trying to do the reporting thing, and then she sees Shaggy Man going after these kids, and she throws her phone at him. You know, she's immortal. She doesn't have powers, but she's not just going to stand by. So I like that because it shows, the cut of her jib. And then that's when Linda shows up, and they have this conversation about being married to the Flash, and how it's different, and this. So again, it felt very much like a interlude from a Flash, from the Flash.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely felt like the same person was writing this that's writing the Flash book, and just sort of like, oh, this is what the wives are doing during this whole crisis, which is it's fine. And Fernando Pesara's on the art, so it looks pretty good. This first story, I mean,
I like too that they go into like this like secret area that Barry, it's like a panic room that's full of things, and they come out with weapons, and they put these Batman helmets that look like the Dark Knight Returns old Batman helmet, and I just think that's a funny visual.
Yeah, on the kids,
on the kids. So, but yeah, no, it was a decent story. The art I really liked. I like Pasaran drawn Flash stuff. It's all very vibrant, like with the colors and stuff. But the art's kinetic. There's always some movement going on. So, yeah, it's good.
Yeah, because they're basically reassuring each other Barry's coming back, and then the last page is the Justice League arriving from above. So it's like, prayers were answered, basically. And then the next story is a Jim Corrigan story where he sees that the Spectre is corrupted by the Great Darkness and decides to say, YOLO, and jumps up to the Spectre and tries to rebond with it to take control back, which is kind of a nice idea for a bit. Definitely these first two were the ones that I kind of enjoyed the most, just because it felt like either they had a nice little character beat, or they were both character beats, honestly, that I'm thinking about it. But this was by Frank Thierry and Serge Acuna on the art.
I do like that the Spectre is just forming people and throwing them at other people. Like he does with Roy here. I like that a lot. But yeah, Corrigan trying to go in there because he knows what it's like when God's vengeance is unchained, right? And now it's being controlled by something else, and I like all of that. It also made Raven look cool, which we need, right?
Sure.
Raven went toe to toe with the Spectre here, and granted, it was a darkness controlled Spectre, but still, and it hints that it's only just begun. So. Trying to figure out what the skull in the eye is. Is that still the darkness? Is that Corrigan? Like what's going on there? So
yeah. So that one was decent. And then from here it kind of dips a little bit. There's a Themyscira story here with the Amazons, which
I liked the theme of this one, but reading it was a chore.
Well, I just didn't feel like there was much to it other than just here's what they're doing, which I guess is kind of true of the Flash wives as well to an extent, but like it just kind of like, oh, the Wonder Woman are fighting at the Hall of Justice with the other characters, and other Amazons are going around and just saving civilians from various things that are happening, and that's basically it. And there's like a tease at the end of
some more Wonder Woman tribe drama with the different.
Yeah,
right?
with Escocida, they're having a vision of Deathstroke coming or something.
Yeah. So what I liked here though was that we get a lot of time that the Amazonians or the Amazons are warriors, right? And so they're always like this army and they're indomitable. But the fact here that they're stopping to help, right? They're they're aiding the firefighters and the paramedics and all of those guys. You know, because that's what Diana and Nubia and Yara would do, right? They're there and service. So again, I like the theme, just but reading through it and stuff, I was just like, all right, I got to move on. This is a thick book.
This was Stephanie Williams writing with Caitlin Yarsky on the art.
Yep.
So and the art did look alright, actually, to be fair.
Yeah,
the art
I like
fine.
the art a lot. It looks good.
Yeah. And then there's a Green Lantern story next, by Matthew Rosenberg writing and George Kambadias on the art. So this is Joe and Guy mainly bantering with each other, and just like we have to take this army of like shadow people that are coming down from the sky on. We have to try and hold them back. It's not looking very good for a minute, but Joe gives them a hoorah speech.
Yep.
And basically inspires them all to keep fighting and keep the willpower going, and they win. There's one funny moment where Guy is like, you know, I'll stay down here and fight like Doomsday or whatever while you guys go up and take on the blob people, and then he sees like, you know, Doomsday or whoever it is like throw Superman down, and he's like, you know what, in second thought, no, you stay down here, Hal, and I'll go up and fight the blob people. It got me a chuckle.
Lanterns on me. I also like at the very end, right? She gives this rah-rah speech, and you know, and he's like, but don't give me any credit for this. This was all you. You lit the fire under their butts. You know, hell of a job out there. She's like, but you're the one that convinced me, right? And he's like, no, I didn't know. I thought we were all gonna die. And he just flies off. It kind of reminded me of the way that Guy was written in the Green Lanterns with Simon and
Jess?
And Jess, when he was like their drill instructor, and because he knows what they're capable of, but he doesn't baby them. You know, it reminded me of that vibe of Guy. So he's still kind of a, you know, he's still very acerbic and whatever, but here there's a touch of that teacher moment. So I thought that was good. And it's also good seeing Joe interact with everyone else. Because we stopped reading Green Lantern, right? She became a character in the Thorn stuff. But it's good to see her bouncing off of Guy and Hal and all of those guys. I also like the art a lot. It lends itself to Green Lantern really well, I thought.
Also, I know what you meant there, but you said it kind of weird. Obviously, Joe came from her own Green Lantern book first before the Thorn book.
Right. Right. Well, and we didn't know if that was like in continuity because of the way that it was written.
I know
she was such a different.
I know that you meant brought her into continuity, but the way you made it sound like that book created her, which I'm just before the comments chew you out. That's all.
I gotcha. Well, thank you.
And then the last story is, well, it's kind of a Titans story, but it's actually Red Canary mainly meeting Black Canary for the first time. Which I suppose actually does feel relatively prominent in that, okay, this is maybe going to be a thing going forward, and this is their first meeting. Almost feels like a shame to throw it in here in this like weird, you know, anthology tie-in book where it might be hard to, you know, find later. I will say the art here, there's a couple of pages where it's got this weird, so the page where she actually sees Black Canary for the first time on the bus. Black Canary, it looks like she's drawn on a postcard, but then the postcard's been angled. So it's like she's two-dimensional, but at an angle. And she looks like really flat as a result. You know, she doesn't have depth. She has like, she looks like a flat surface that's been angled away from us, if that makes sense.
No, I know what you're talking about. The no thank you scene.
That scene, yeah. So, you know, that bugged me a little bit. But... it's kind of a feel-good story, but it also feels like it feels almost a little wasted to just have it here in this little short at the back of this rather than have it be a bigger moment. Either like flash back to this in you know, the Green Arrow Black Canary book that's coming up, or you know, wherever it's going to be relevant, I guess.
I like the fact that though this is her crucible, because she got inspired by Canary by seeing her on stage, right, with the band, and then decided to go and help, because that's what the world needs, is, you know, proactive. So I do like all of that stuff here. Starting to think it's not shoes now, because of some of the comments here.
You
know, so that's cool. So it's a new character, but yeah, it was just kind of like a, you know.
For the record, this was Delilah S. Dawson writing with Tom Derenick on the art. So these things are always frustrating to me. I think this type of one shot, like I think goes great if you're reading like a big trade of the actual event, and this is slotted in where it goes. It feels like a bit of an extra, almost like I'm saying these would almost feel like better as like mini little backups in the main book rather than being this one shot. Because I think as a package, this feels really underwhelming to me as like an issue.
Yeah, they're all very
for.
supplemental.
Yeah. You know, it doesn't really feel like any one of them necessarily has a good story per se.
No, like the Flash one at the beginning, the Adams one, felt like that should have been a backup in Flash.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, actually, yeah.
Stuff.
Rather than a backup to Dark Crisis, they should all be backups in their. I mean, not all of them have relevant books, but assuming they did, and you know, some of them do. So you'd put that one on Flash. Wonder Woman would go at the end of a Wonder Woman issue.
Right.
You know,
which back in the day, before they kind of changed how they do, you know, events and stuff, that's probably what would have happened. That would have been the tie-in, or the backups. You know, because I remember like Final Crisis did that kind of stuff. Where there was the Final Crisis tie-ins. So
it's like you know, a few of these were pleasant enough to read, but I wouldn't say it's worth buying the issue for.
Yeah, no. I mean, as a Jeremy Adams Flash fan, I think you'd want to get that just to have that story. But yeah, it definitely feels like this.
But it's like $6 for what, 8 pages?
Yeah.
Because I feel like when you have an omnibus later on that collects everything, and this is slotted in where it goes, it'll make that big battle feel like there's a lot going on.
Yeah,
which is fine and cool, but it's an individual issue on its own. It just feels kind of underwhelming. Like I don't know if I needed any of that. Even though there is a couple of nice little moments in it for some of the characters, you know, Red Canary meeting Black Canary for the first time, Linda and Iris having a nice little moment. There's some nice moments between characters. Jim Corrigan has kind of a heroic moment, all cool, but not all of them just feel like moments and nothing more. There's not really anything around them, so which is always my problem with these little anthologies where everything only gets like 8 pages. I mean, some of them even less. So
yeah, I agree with all that. Again, I kind of miss the little, like, the miniserie tie-in, like, the 3 issues that they would do. I miss when they would have that, because then the story would feel like there was more heft to it, you know, and it wasn't just these small collections. So...
yeah. All right, what are you giving Dark Crisis Warzone issue 1?
I'm going to give this a 7. Like, it's good, but it's not great, so...
Yeah, I think I have to go with a 6. It's just, for me, it just feels a little bit, like... It's just a little bit superfluous, ultimately. Yeah. So, you know, I wouldn't say like it's that bad, but I also feel like, yeah, if it's not bonus material and something like on the main story or whatever, I would say that it's not really worth going out your way to pay for.